ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time with Tuskeh, the show that has absolutely nothing to do with tea, but is so named because I think alliteration is cool. It's Thursday the 15th of September, so sit back, relax with a cup of tea, and let's chat WoW news, content, and discussion. So a quick note about yesterday. I did mention in yesterday's Tea Time that you didn't really need to worry about your fishing skill at all. That, however, was incorrect. There is one thing that you are going to need a maximum fishing skill of 800 to acquire, and that is the Underlight Angler, the artifact for fishing. So make sure you continue to level up your fishing skill, because you're going to want to get that artifact, because it's really cool and quite helpful. Also, another note today, I want to talk about the World Quest of the Day section. It's received a fair amount of scrutiny, which, thinking about it, probably is well deserved. The problem is that World Quests only last for a few days, and since the quests will change after that point, and the rewards are personal, there's not much point in me telling you about them, because if someone comes in and watches some of these videos after a day or so, then that section is completely irrelevant to them, and it might still be irrelevant to you entirely because, hey, I'm talking about a piece of gear and you mouse over it and it's like, oh, it gives me a relic that I don't need. So yeah, instead we're going to be replacing it with an experimental section called the Screenshot of the Day. I'm looking forward to showing you some of the screenshots that I have acquired over my time in Legion, and I definitely want you to send in your own as well. But we'll talk more about that when we actually get to that section. Of course, I'd love your feedback about this. This is a very experimental show in general. It can change nice and easily, so let me know what you think. So, today in the news. Big bit of news today, a patch 7.1 build has been data mined on the public test realm. There are a huge number of changes incoming, and I naturally don't have time to go over all of them because there are a lot. But a few of the interesting changes are as follows. There are a bunch of really pretty new models, including what looks like a Nightbane mount. That is interesting. I very much want to get my hands on one of those. It looks like the Nagrand Arena has seen a visual overhaul. It looks really pretty, but if you zoom in, you can see Warsong orcs and banners, suggesting that maybe this Nagrand Arena is the one on Draenor rather than Outland. That said, you can also see the old Kill Sorrow Fortress in the background, so who knows, maybe it's just a bit of an oversight. No idea, but regardless, very pretty, nice little gift for the PvPers there. There will likely be an attunement quest for Karazhan, similar to the one for the Suramar mythics like the Archway and the Court of Stars, but hopefully it's not reputation gated because you don't want those new players being like, oh, Karazhan has returned, what have I got to do? Oh, I've got to get reach revered with blah 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 blah. That would suck. So hopefully it's just a quest that you can just go and do, because I'm all on board for that. We'll likely be seeing Kvaldir attacking the Broken Isles with these new Kvaldir landing sites, so that should be cool. New world quests, that's always a good thing to have. More diversity in these world quests is going to be great. And we're going to be seeing some Rykul transmogs. No pictures yet, but this does sound really cool. Speaking of cool things, there's likely going to be some kind of world quest on the Broken Isles in 7.1, including something called Falcosaurs. Now, I didn't know what these were originally, but I did a bit of research, and it seems like these models have actually been leaked already. They've been data mined since the beta, so maybe this is just them implementing it. It looks like it's some kind of world quest, maybe a chain or a repeatable that allows you to eventually get yourself a mount that's a Falcosaur, which, I mean, that's cool. It's called a Falcosaur. How could it not be cool? So that one's pretty cool. Looking forward to that. There is a new Raiding with Leashes achievement for finding pets in Ulduar, Trial of the Crusader, and Icecrown Citadel, and it involves some kind of celestial pet as well, which is definitely interesting. I might have to have a look at that in the future. Honor talents, this is an interesting one, will no longer be lost when a player chooses to Prestige. That's a really strange change in my opinion. I mean, I'm not a big PvPer, so I'm not certain about the thoughts behind this, but I thought the whole point of Prestige was to forfeit power and have to build up that power again in order to get some kind of cosmetic achievement, you know, to show, hey, I've prestiged 5 times, I got this cool mount or whatever, and it was kind of a trade-off. I mean, it's certainly a nice quality of life change for PvPers. There you go, that's a nice change. There will likely be a Blood of Sargeras vendor called Ilnea Bloodthorn that will allow you to trade your Blood of Sargeras in for stacks of 20 crafting reagents, so Fell Slate, Storm Scales, Fjarnskagel, I love that word, things like that. So that's really nice. This might be changed, but right now, a single blood buys you a stack of 20, which is kind of amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that is changed and how that's going to get implemented, but having more uses for the Blood of Sargeras is definitely a good thing. A couple of other quick notes now. There's going to be a Pepe fishing bobber, because of course there is. There's going to be all new music, and there's a bunch of class changes. But These class changes are not official patch notes. They're just tooltip changes, and many of them are likely to be changed or are just flat out incorrect right now. We don't know how this game is put together, we don't know Blizzard's processes, so right now, don't pay too much attention to those class changes. Some of them may be correct, some of them may be incorrect. We don't know right now. If you want to see all of these potential changes, just click on the link in the description. The only other piece of news today is that World of Warcraft tweeted a reminder that 15 years ago this month, World of Warcraft was first unveiled with a cinematic trailer that, naturally for Blizzard games, looks absolutely nothing like the game itself. 15 years. Do you feel old now? Because I do. Moving on to the daily tip. Now, this one's going to be a little bit different. So, when you start the Rogue campaign at level 100, you're given a letter from Lord Jurak Ravenholt instructing you to go to the Glorious Goods shop in Dalaran and say to the shopkeeper, "The Raven calls." He then opens up the secret door to the Hall of Shadows. But did you know that the two main areas, the two shops that rogues can use to enter their order hall, both have small, untargetable ravens perched atop their signs just outside? I actually didn't notice this until someone pointed it out to me. That is a beautiful little bit of detail that suggests, hey, the ravens only perch on the signs that you can go into as a rogue that have something to do with the uncrowned. That's a really, really cool little bit of detail that maybe you missed. Next up, the screenshot of the day. So this is going to replace the World Quest of the Day, and I know it's not nearly as helpful as the World Quest of the Day, which, thinking about it, wasn't really that helpful. So it's going to be something nice and simple. Just a cool, pretty, or interesting screenshot that I think is really cool. I've got a bunch of them myself, but I would love to see yours. So send in screenshots via twitter.com/Tuskeh or mail them to me using the link in the description. I'd love to see some of the cool or pretty or just interesting screenshots that you folks have taken. So today's screenshot is one I took using the selfie camera whilst leveling with my husband at the peak of Stormheim's southern mountain. You can see Dalaran, Suramar, and the Tomb of Sargeras from here. And this points out something that I really like about Legion, is there is a lot of verticality. I mean, if you've been up High Mountain, you know just how vertical the Broken Isles are. There is a lot of wandering up and down mountain paths and flying up using special, like, dragons and mounts and grappling hooks and things like that. I really like that. I know it can be a bit annoying for some, but from a purely aesthetic point of view, it's really cool, and it makes the world feel much more alive. I mean, not everything is flat. A lot of the old zones are very flat, but not this, and I really like that. Make sure you send in your own screenshots, again at twitter.com/Tuskeh, or just mail them to me. I want to see what you guys can do. Now it's time for the Q&A. So a couple of folks have asked if I'm British. I'm English, yes, not British. But I actually met my husband-to-be through World of Warcraft, then I moved here to America, and now I'm creating a life for myself here, trying to build a YouTube channel and support my family and all that good stuff. It's a long and complicated and painful process that I would not suggest that you do unless you're very sure about it. But yes, that is something that has happened, and it's kind of why it's a bit confusing. You're in America, and yet you sound English, and what's going on? So that's the whole story there. It's a bit more complex than that, obviously, but maybe I'll tell it again one day. I have told it once before, but maybe I'll be able to do it again at some point. So that's that. Moving on. Gaga Owner Unicorn, which is a very strange name, asks, can we get a cute picture of you and your husband? Of course! Here he is trying to buy a Talbuk and me boredly protecting him from PvPers. There was no one there, so I took out the selfie camera and just started taking screenshots. Zaulos asks, does age matter in WoW? I've played for about a year now and no one has asked me for my age, but what if they do? I don't want to lie about the age I am, and when they finally find out my real age, will they kick me or remove me as a friend? I'm 11, by the way. Is that enough? So I would love to say yes, but age is very important in World of Warcraft. This is something that I have personally dealt with in the past. You can't really escape your age. Yeah, it sucks, but the truth of the matter is that You're a certain age, you have certain experiences, you have certain points of view that will change as you get older. I don't want to sound like a boring adult, but the point here is that a lot of adults will use video games and World of Warcraft to escape their real lives. Adults tend to have a lot of responsibility, which sucks, by the way, and they want a means to escape all that and just be like, alright, I have nothing to worry about, I'm just gonna play World of Warcraft and just relax for my evening. I finally got some time to do that. That escapism is important to them, and it's a way for them, like I said, to escape their responsibilities. But being around younger players can kind of force them to go back into the adult mode, I'm gonna call it, where they have to think, oh, I have to be responsible, and I have to, think about what I say, and it's not very enjoyable when they come to World of Warcraft to escape, all that boring real life nonsense. So, I would say that, yes, age is important, but just act mature. Just be thoughtful about other people, try not to be cruel, and just generally have a good attitude that puts other people before yourself. Think about other people in complex ways because they are as complex as you are, and you'll be fine. I don't want to sound gloomy, so I'm just going to say that it gets better. It really does. It's something that a lot of people say, and it sounds like a bit of a stereotype, but yes, it does get better. And finally, Joshua Goyao asks, hey Tuskeh, do you have any interesting stories when facing stereotypes? Whether it be stereotypes about WoW players, gamers in general, being from a different country, or being gay? I do, and it's a very, very awkward situation when facing a stereotype, because stereotypes are naturally incorrect, at least in my opinion. And they can also be quite damaging. I mean, I studied a little bit of psychology and sociology in college, and not a lot, I just want to point that out, like a year of it, like the basic stuff, and I've probably forgotten most of it now. But my point here is that there is an effect of being stereotyped that can actually lead a lot of people into acting more of that stereotype, which might not be the end of the world when it's being like, hey, you're English, and so that means you love tea, or you're gay, that means you act in a certain kind of way. But if that's something a bit more dangerous, like, oh, you're a criminal, you do bad things, that can get very, very dangerous very quickly. So I don't like stereotypes. The way I would imagine it is a stereotype is a box. It's a box that you put people of certain orientations, genders, racial ethnicities, anything, or even gamers in different boxes. It's like, okay, gamers are introverted and quiet, but smart. And gay people are very camp and all that stuff. So I don't think that's correct. I think that there is one box for every person on Earth. And a lot of the things that you can imagine about, say, a gamer, like being introverted, but being smart and not enjoying social interaction, those are all scales. So you can have someone who is an introvert who isn't very good at social interaction, but likes talking to people and might not be very good at video games, Or you might have someone who is an extrovert. I like to think of myself as a little bit of an extrovert. That's why I talk so damn much. So you might have someone who's a bit of an extrovert, but who is also really good at video games, but who doesn't like social interaction. That's not me, but it's just an example, It's all hypothetical. Imagining, like I said, imagining other people complexly is kind of the key here. But when it comes to my own experiences, I haven't had that many bad experiences about facing stereotypes because I've often been very good at articulating the positive aspects of being gay or being from a different country or being a gamer or being from World of Warcraft. I mean, I can do them all now. So let's say World of Warcraft players. So a stereotype about World of Warcraft players might be that they're all toxic and they don't play real games and they just play a casual friendly game that's all crap, right? So first of all, it's obvious that not every World of Warcraft player is toxic because great relationships, friendships, marriages, and communities have been built through World of Warcraft. Just look at BlizzCon to see that. People at BlizzCon are amazing. There is an amazing community at BlizzCon. They're all casual players. Clearly not, because there are a lot of very, very difficult things in World of Warcraft, like Mythic raiding and hopefully the new Mythic Plus dungeons that are coming out next week. That is all very tough, mostly because of the communication that is required between players, and that can bleed into real life. I mean, being able to coordinate with other people that you barely know is an important life skill. If you're working in any kind of atmosphere that involves communicating with other people, especially if you don't know them, experience in World of Warcraft raiding can be great. There's also a lot of personal responsibility in raiding, not only not standing in the fire, but preparing yourself outside of the raid. You know, doing things like reading up and researching fights, of making sure you're ready with your class, of making sure you're stocked up. That can all bleed into real life, which I think is very important. That can also extend to everything else, so being from a different country might make it seem like, oh, I'm just an Englishman that's come over here to correct all of your grammar and say, oh, it's tomato, not tomato, and all that nonsense. But being from a different country really lends an outside view as to everything. Just take the whole political climate in America right now. There's a lot of turmoil here, certainly, but as an outsider, as an Englishman, I can't vote right now because I'm not acclimatized yet. That's going to take at least another 6 or 7 years before I can do that. And that lends me a really interesting point of view, whereas a lot of the other people around me, because they've been surrounded by all of this stuff, but at the same time, that also means that they have a more in-depth view of what's going on. So being able to communicate those differences can be really interesting. And of course, being gay is a massive subject in and of itself, so I'm just going to say this when it comes to being gay. Being gay and being camp are two very different things. And there are a lot of important details there. So maybe we'll go over a bit more of that in the future, but this is already running on a little bit, so I'm just going to stop there. So that's the Q&A for the day. Make sure you send in more questions in the comments or via Twitter, or just email me, and I will endeavor to answer them for you. Finally, let's end with the Opera House. Today, we will be listening to some of the new Karazhan music. This has been data mined by both Wowhead and MMO Champion, and we'll be listening to a couple of pieces, the first of which is an update of the classic Karazhan entrance music. The second is an interesting new piece with some throwbacks to the original pieces. So these are really making me look forward to seeing this stuff in-game along with everything else. So have a listen, let me know what you think, and that will conclude this episode of Tea Time with Tuskeh. If you have any questions for the show, any thoughts, comments, or suggestions, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. If you want to help support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in the World of Warcraft.